Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Colaiacovo, and on this episode, I want to share some easy steps to help you create your marketing content in less time. And specifically, we're going to focus on content for social media. Now, of course, you know my goal is always to help you get better results, and that means these tips will also help make your marketing more effective. We want your content for social media to do its job, which is attracting more website traffic and getting more leads that you can convert into clients. So let's dive right into these 5 steps that will help you create your marketing content in less time. And yes, I did say create your own content, because no matter what kind of templates you can buy or planners you find that have content you can use as is or pre-made content ready to help with your marketing, you still need to consider creating some of your own content. As a service-based business owner, people are buying you and your expertise, which means if you're not in any of your marketing, it will come across as less authentic. Less you. Your potential clients connect with you on social media so they can check you out to see who you really are. So when your marketing content doesn't include you in it or has very little of that, it makes it harder for your community to get to know you. So yes, you can use some pre-made content in your marketing, some ready-to-post content, but I strongly encourage you to also include content that is unique to you and your business and helps you stand out and showcase what you offer people. There are lots of planners and templates out there, including the one I offer, but this cannot be all you post online, content that others have made to use. It's too generic. You will need your own unique content that takes people to your blogs, your podcast pages, your lead magnets, your website, your services and programs, and more. You will also need your own content that showcases your expertise and your personality to people as well. You see the point here, right? The only way you get that type of unique to you content created is by creating that content yourself. I share this very lesson in my Ultimate Marketing Content Planner. And yes, it does give you about 500 pieces of content that is ready-made. You can copy and paste and use it as your own. But part of my training includes me telling you that even with that pre-made content you get with my planner, you should be customizing it and making it your own. So today, this episode shares the 5 steps to create your own marketing content in less time. Now, before you get to the stage where you're creating the content, you do want to have an overall marketing and content plan in place. This will guide all aspects of your marketing, from planning your marketing so that it helps achieve your business goals, and then you are able to know all the pieces and all the marketing activities you need to have going to make that happen. That's your marketing plan. And it includes your consistent content plan for new content, as well as having a plan for using evergreen content. You can learn more about the new and evergreen content and what they're all about in episode 30 of the podcast, which is titled Simplify Your Private Practice Marketing. And I'll link to that in the show notes where you are listening to this podcast. So once you have that plan in place and you've identified the type of content you'll use, how often you'll use it, and when and where, then you'll need to create the content. And the thing I want you to really think about here is that you've got to be planning this content that you're going to use in your marketing. I know a lot of people like to skip the planning part, but that aspect is what makes the creation of the content so much easier to do. And taking the time to do the planning will be something that actually is part of saving time. So if you're one of those practice or business owners who's been doing way more random marketing than planned marketing, I want you to listen up here, because I can promise you are spending way more time than you need to on your marketing if you're doing what I call random acts of marketing. And I can't say it any more clearly. Following that random, what I call whack-a-mole marketing, it really is going to take you more time. We cover the aspect of creating and using a content planner that helps you do all of this in a more efficient way and planning it out in my Ultimate Marketing Content Planner, because it comes with several hours of training as well. So if you're worried about figuring this out on your own as you listen to the lessons in this episode, just remember there are ways to get help. And at the end of the episode, I'm going to share a special code that you can use to access the planner for a reduced fee as well. But for now, let's get going with these 5 steps to create your marketing content in less time. Step number 1 is you need to know exactly what content you're going to be creating. So when you go to sit down and create the content for your social media to write that out, you want to know exactly what pieces of content to create. That way you create no more and no less, and you don't take any more time than you need to as well. This typically is the new content that comes out of your consistent content plan. This plan is specific to what kind of new content you create for each cycle that you're writing a newsletter article, a blog article, or if you're a podcaster recording a podcast episode. The consistent content plan helps you know what type of new content you need, when and where you're going to post it online, and that helps you know and understand how you need to format the content as well. You can learn more about this type of a plan in episode 28, where I share 5 ways a consistent content plan will help you grow your private practice. The thing here is following a plan like this will keep you from spending too much time creating content that you don't need. So if I use the example we did in a recent bootcamp that I held on this very topic, you would know that from that article you wrote for your blog, which we call your anchor content, that you want to create for social media exactly 2 short brilliance tips, 2 long tips, and 2 blog promotional posts. Plus, you know that you need to outline short video under 60 seconds from the content in the article that you wrote. And having that consistent content plan gives you those very specific things so you know exactly what you need to create. And that's how you're getting to that spot of creating no more and no less than you need. Plus, when you know the exact types of content you want to create, it's a lot easier to write that and put it together too. So number 1 is knowing exactly what content you need to create for your social media content. Step number 2 is having a plan for the images that you want to create to go with that content. I always tell people add visuals, add images to your marketing content, because otherwise the text-only kinds of posts will get skipped over a lot easier. Plus, the algorithms out there like images and video a lot more than they do plain text posts. So when you know the words, if any, that you're going to put on any of the images that you need for your social media content, that makes creating those images a lot easier. And that is another aspect of your consistent content plan. So if you haven't listened to that episode 28, you definitely want to go back and listen to that one for sure. Planning for the images and making sure you know how many images you need, where they're going to get posted online, which helps you know what size you need as well, and having a system in place for saving and storing those images, all of that mixed in with using templates for your marketing images means you're going to take way less time than it would be if you don't have any idea of all of this and you just go down and you open your Canva account and you're sitting there going, okay, I need some images, but what are they going to be? Templates and having this plan will save you a ton of time when it comes to creating those marketing images to go with your social media content. And Canva has tons of templates you can use. And there are also people all over the world selling Canva templates too. It should not be a challenge for anyone to be able to find some templates that you can customize with your own brand colors and your own brand fonts too. And when you use these templates, that's what's going to get you to a place where you can follow my 5 minutes max rule for creating your marketing images for social media. And if you haven't heard me talk about that before, I do mean that creating images to go with your social media content, when you use Canva, it should not take you more than 5 minutes max to create each of those images. And it happens with this time because you have a plan and you know the images you're going to create that are going to go with your social media content. So before you sit down to make those images to go with your marketing content, be darn sure you know exactly what you're going to need, and that will help keep you on task and take less time as well. Now, the third thing in our list here is to compile a list of hashtags that you want to use to add to your social media content. And this is another way to save time that is not hard at all to set up. One of the tabs in the Ultimate Marketing Content Planner I have is a tab for keywords and hashtags. And we use this tab to keep the hashtag lists in the planner, and we do it by keeping them in there separately as lists, but we also put them together in groups that we will use in the marketing content. So you know that if you're going to post and create some social media content that might be specific to a particular topic, and you know that there's a group of hashtags you always want to use with that, well, having them in a planner wherever you want to have yours, if you're not using the planner that I offer people, having that group of hashtags in there makes it so much easier to just copy and paste the group of hashtags and add it to your social media content. So saving and storing these hashtags makes it a lot easier to add them in. Plus, think about it. If you're typing those hashtags in one by one on your social media posts, you're going to take a lot more time than if you just copied the group of them, pasted them in, and use them however you're planning and scheduling your content to go out online. So I do recommend as well, in addition to keeping the list of hashtags there, that you review and update your hashtags on a regular basis. Take some time to do some research and planning so that you're mixing the hashtags you use in your content and you're using a variety of them and ones that are relevant for the piece of content you've created. This makes sure that you're using helpful hashtags that go along with your content and not using ones that work against you. And back in February of 2022, I wrote a blog about checking the hashtags that you're using before you post them in your content. Because if you're using hashtags that have been banned, that means your content is not going to be seen by very many people at all. So I'll put a link to that blog that I wrote that will help you out understanding a little bit more about hashtags and why you want to do some research and make sure you're not using ones that may have been banned. So to save yourself some more time when you're creating your social media content, having that list or groups of hashtags to use and add into the mix when you're creating the content will save you even more time. The fourth step to saving time creating your marketing content is to use evergreen content and mix that in with your consistent new content. So evergreen content is content that can be used and reused over and over. It doesn't have a dated aspect to it at all. Content like promotional posts to encourage people to sign up for your lead magnet is one of the best examples I can share of evergreen content. So when you have a lead magnet, you should always, and if you're not doing this, please promise me you'll start doing it now, but you should always have promotional posts that go out to encourage people to sign up for your lead magnet. It's not dated content, and it has a purpose, and it's not random. You want people to click the link, go to your lead generation page where they can sign up and get the lead magnet. So when you mix content like this with your consistent new content that you are creating brand new, it gives you a well-rounded look to your content. It gives you a well-rounded purpose to the content you're putting out online as well. And it all helps keep your social media feeds active with content that has a purpose. So having that evergreen content will help you save time because this is the type of content you can batch create once and then use it and reuse it over and over. Now, I do recommend having enough so that it's not reused less than every 3 or 4 months and that you update those posts on a regular basis too. Otherwise, you might run the risk of people getting used to seeing those posts and skipping over it. And one thing that we do with our evergreen content too is we make sure that we have a base of evergreen images to use to go with it. So if you're constantly putting out posts, like say once a week to your lead magnet on your different channels, you want to make sure that the image you have is not the same image over and over. So we always create a base of images to go with something like that, in particular for lead magnets or for programs and services as well, because you want the content to look different and feel different to people. Otherwise, they may just look at it and think it's the same piece from before and start skipping over it. So when you create and add in evergreen content, it helps you save time by not having to create brand new from scratch every piece of marketing content that you publish. And a good portion of the types of content that we have in my Ultimate Marketing Content Planner actually is evergreen content, because evergreen content is a big strategy to help you cut back, number one, on the new content you have to create, so cutting back on content creation time, but also by using that content that you've created once and use over and over, you save time as well. So a few more examples of evergreen content outside of the lead magnet posts would be posts for holidays or special days of the year, or what I call the brilliance tips. So these are tips that you're typically creating from a new article that you may have written for a blog or newsletter, but later on, it can stand on its own and become evergreen content as well. Because a good tip that you share today can always be a good tip to share in a few months down the road too. So making sure that you're adding evergreen content into the mix is something that's also going to help you save time. Now, our fifth step in this process is one that a lot of people think sometimes is not the right way to go when it comes to social media marketing. And that is to pre-schedule as much content as possible. This actually will help you save the most amount of time when it comes to your marketing. Pre-scheduling your content to go out online at set times and on set days. And so I know I mentioned it a second ago, but yes, I really do believe it's possible to do this without being fake or inauthentic with your marketing. Because here's the deal. The words in the content were created by you. If you're pulling your social media content out of those articles that you wrote, it's still the words that you wrote. It's still your information. You created it. You're just taking those words you wrote originally for an article and turning them into shorter pieces of content you use on social media. This is best done when you set aside a block of time where the only task at hand is scheduling the content you created. So this is content that's already written and formatted, and the images or videos are ready to go as well. So then when you sit down, you schedule it to go out on your social media channels. It will take you a lot less time to do when you have all of that prepared. You might have a virtual assistant or an admin person who takes over this part too, and that's just another great way to leverage your time. So when you have everything ready and you sit down to schedule the content, then what you're doing is purposely filling your social media channels with content you have planned, content that has a purpose, and content that is authentically created by you. So by following this marketing strategy of pre-scheduling your content, it will help you be active online without needing to be online all the time. And I do like to schedule with a buffer of about 2 weeks. So when I pre-schedule content, we do it for 2 weeks at a time. And sometimes, especially in the summer, I might do a little bit more just to get ahead. And by getting ahead and having this buffer, it'll give you that peace of mind that the content is going out there consistently. And then all you have to do is go live and engage with people. So you still want to plan that live online networking time that I call it. But having this buffer of when you schedule the content, that gives you time for the unexpected before you need to schedule more content. And I've definitely relied on this buffer sometimes when the unexpected has happened in my life. And so what I mean by the buffer, just to be really clear about this, it means that if you sat down, say, every Monday or every other Monday, we'll say, you sit down on Monday, and let's just say, because I'm recording this here on March 27th. So it's Monday, March 27th, and I'm going to sit down and schedule 2 weeks of content. So I'm going to schedule it, but I'm already 2 weeks ahead. So I'm actually only scheduling content from April 10th to April 24th. And what that means is that I've got things scheduled ahead of time. And it just gives me that buffer so that I know that things are planned out. And it does mean you have to be organized and ready to go with things, but it gives you that planned ahead time so that when you sit down today to schedule content, you're not starting with today's content, because that's where the pressure comes into play and it can get overwhelming. So have a buffer of time. If 2 weeks is a stretch, go for a week ahead. And you'll find that when you do this and have this buffer, you'll be a lot less stressed as well when it comes to this. The whole idea of pre-scheduling the content is not to just keep you active online, but it also gives you space to breathe, knowing that content is consistently going out there and you know when it's going to happen. So when you go live online to connect and network and engage with people, that's all you have to do. You're not thinking frantically about whether or not you told people about your lead magnet or an upcoming promotion or a special you have going on, or you're just winging it with your marketing. Because when you're doing more of the winging it marketing, that's what I describe as doing whack-a-mole marketing, which has very little planning and strategy behind it. That kind of marketing will only waste more of your precious time as a business owner, and you don't want to be doing that. So those are the 5 steps to help you create your marketing content and save time doing it. So to recap these 5 steps, they are: number 1, knowing exactly what type and how much content you need to create. Number 2 is having a plan for the images that you want to create to go with your social media content. Number 3 is compiling a list of hashtags and groups of hashtags that you can copy and use as needed when you're creating your content. Number 4 is to use evergreen content to mix in with that consistent new content. And number 5 is to pre-schedule as much of that content as possible. And again, I like to do that with a buffer of at least a week or 2. So your action step today, after hearing these 5 steps that will help you save time creating your marketing content, well, I want you to go back and look at your process now. Look at how you're creating your marketing content now. What is your process? Do you even have one? And in particular, I want you to look at where your time is going when it comes to creating your marketing content. Do you have any of these 5 steps in your process for social media content creation? None of them? Some of them? Any of them? If not, consider adding them in and making them part of your routine. When you do this, you'll find yourself spending less time on this area of your marketing plans. And if you find this all a little much to tackle on your own, I totally get that. This is what we focus on a lot of times in the group calls in my Thrive Marketing Academy. But you can get a really good head start. Number 1, you could definitely book a call with me, talk about the academy, see if it might be something that would really help you with all of your marketing from A to Z. Or if you want a head start, grab my Ultimate Marketing Content Planner and Training. This planner is the basis of the Thrive Marketing Method and has helped hundreds of practice and business owners get a handle on their content marketing and plans. It was created from my work with hundreds of clients over the past 15 years, and it includes step-by-step training, which has captions and transcripts, and they will guide you with your goal setting, your marketing planning, and using a content planner to keep you organized and on top of your marketing. And best of all, it helps you stay consistent with your marketing, because that is one of your main activities as a business owner you have to be doing. If you stop your marketing, you could be stopping that reach out and that visibility that you want with people to know that you're there, that you have the services and ways to help them improve their lives. The training in the Ultimate Marketing Content Planner is geared to help you be as effective and strategic as possible while creating some basic systems to get you going and keeping on top of your marketing. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, there are over 500 pieces of content that you could copy, paste, and use as your own, which will save you time. But remember what I said earlier in this lesson. You've got to edit those ready-made posts no matter where you get them from. Just a little, edit them just a bit to make them more you, and it doesn't take a lot to do that. And FYI, that rule goes for any planners and content you buy out there that is marketed as being ready to post. It's not just with the planner that I have. You always want to make that type of content your own. And that same rule applies to using AI tools like ChatGPT to create your marketing content. If you're using an AI tool like that to generate some of your initial words, that's great, but always make sure you customize it and make it your own. Now, if you're listening to this episode and you think you might want to explore using the Ultimate Marketing Content Planner, I have a coupon code that you can use to take $50 off the fee for that training program. It's a simple code, PLAN, P-L-A-N. Just use that at the checkout when you register and you'll save $50 off that training. And I will put a link to that in the show notes for you as well. Planning and strategy will always help you be more effective and save time with your marketing. And that's what these 5 easy steps I shared today will do for you. So this is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off, wishing you a fabulous day and an even better week. And I want to remind you to thrive in practice. That means that some of your time every day should focus on client work and activities that directly bring in clients and the revenue you need to generate the financial freedom you're after by being a business owner. By applying these 5 simple steps you learned here today, you'll find yourself spending less time creating the content for social media, and that will give you more time to focus on those other activities. Or heck, why not just have more time to go out and be you and live your life too? That's always a good use of extra time if you ask me. I will put a link to all the resources I mentioned here today in the show notes. You can click on them, get access to them as you need them, or you can find them as well at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/38. And I will see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.